The peephole magnified his smile until it filled the circle, a crooked, familiar crescent Georgia had memorized. For years, it meant safety, but now it looked like a punishment. "Georgia, can you please open the door? It's getting rather chilly out here." His voice, if it was his, wobbled through brass and glass, soft as someone trying to keep from crying. The hallway was cold enough to taste. The radiator in Charlie's grandfather's house had finally given up for the season. "Go away. You're not Charlie," Georgia said, louder than she wanted. Her throat tightened. The words came out brittle. The house, with its heavy oak doors and narrow windows, felt like a shell, but tonight it felt like a trap. A chuckle, wrong in the way a torn laugh is wrong, creased the smile. "Don't be silly, Georgie. Of course I'm Charlie." Up close, his skin was wrong waxen, almost luminous under the hallway light. His eyes were a burned orange Georgia had never seen on him, pupils too wide, as if he'd been staring into a bonfire for days. He looked as if hunger had etched his ribs into his jacket. "Get out!" Georgia pressed her back against the locked door. The lock had been one of Grandpa Henry's paranoias, brass and old, set deep into oak. It was supposed to be proof against anything ordinary. "Die of hypothermia out here." He tapped the wood with a fingernail. The sound was too delicate to be threatening and somehow worse. Georgia swallowed. "You were stabbed at the park. The police called me. I was at your funeral." The face at the peephole didn't shrink. It smiled, the way someone remembers a line from a play. "Oh, right, sorry. That was inconvenient." The voice scraped, like pages.
"But I came back. That's a good thing, right?"
For a second, Georgia let the memory in sirens rain like blisters. The white dress shirt he favored folded on a stretcher. She slammed it shut because she could feel denial as a fine fever. She had kissed him through the casket. She had felt his cold lips. She had promised to burn his clothes to keep his laugh alive in stories. She had not promised to let whatever this was cross thresholds.
"Don't now Georgia me," she said. "You were dead."
His smile widened. "I was dead. Then something pierced me, and it was glorious. The bones, the blood." He drew a slow, ridiculous breath. "I felt alive. The end wasn't an end. I shed the skin I was meant to wear. I have a new name now. Dixie. Call me Dixie." A small animal sound came from the door frame when he said. He told stories then, about a bus stop and an old man with a derringer, about being shot and not falling, about choking out a man who'd thought he'd saved himself. He described the look on that man's face, like a connoisseur describing a fine wine: astonishment, disgust, disbelief. His voice softened when he said the man screamed.
"You're not him,"
Georgia whispered, saying it felt like an incantation. "Bullets don't work on what wears my skin anymore," he said, and he laughed. He wasn't trying to be frightening. He was trying to be intimate, to make Georgia understand. That was more terrifying than any monster. The house seemed to hold its breath. Georgia could hear the clock downstairs like the thud of a heart. Her grief and her fear tangled. For a moment she wondered if in some obscene mercy she was still inventing this to keep her boy alive just a little longer. Georgia shoved the bookshelf in front of the door. Grandpa Henry had bolted it to the wall, but the case dragged and screamed across the floorboards. A photograph fell with a glassy snap. It splintered and rained shards across the carpet. At the lake, arms laced, sunlight trapped in our teeth. The sight of it made the air go thin and hot around Georgia's face. She clutched the frame with bleeding knuckles and realized she was sobbing. Outside, the pounding stopped. For a breathless second, nothing moved. Then, soft and small, came a sound like pain and apology. He pressed his face to the peephole. For a sliver of time, the orange in his iris thinned into blue. She saw it, Charlie, not wholly gone. A line of salt water ran down the creature's cheek and glinted like light on iron. "I'm sorry," he mouthed. "He's making me do this." The thing laughed again, a sound that split into multiple voices and folded back on itself. Don't cry, Georgia. You have cold feet about being liberated. I get it. You're sentimental. I almost left you a postcard. It backed away, dragging the last syllables into a hiss. The night filled with the sound of feet on warped pavement, a shrinking set of rhythms, until finally they stopped. Then the house, which had felt like a fortress, seemed to sag and settle, the way someone exhales a long-held breath. Georgia sat on the floor in a scatter of glass and memory. The photo in her lap was splintered where her thumb had caught it, leaving stars of sunlight in the torn corners. The radiator clanked like a distant failing heart. She kept waiting for the knob to turn again, for the jangled music of nails on wood, for the raspy petitions that tried to sound like him. The thing had left for now. It had looked like Charlie and cried in a way that remembered him. It had told Georgia he'd been ecstatic in death, that he wanted to make everyone feel the same rapture.